Welcome back to another episode of RAD BMX Builds. I'm Sean, the owner, and this is going to be a little unique, a little bit different. We're actually not going to build a bike in this episode, but I'm going to answer a lot of your questions. You know, I've kind of just had this channel and built bikes and showed a good time and went to events, and I know that's what you're here for, but let's dig into what RAD BMX Builds is and who I am. What's my background? Why do I get to do this? And how do I get to meet all these amazing people in the industry? It's kind of an interesting story, and I want to share it with you. If you're here for it, make sure you subscribe. I appreciate it. Like the video, leave comments. All of those help the YouTube algorithm, help this channel grow, and help me bring you content like this. But like I said, this actual episode, it's gonna be a little bit different, so let's get into it. Okay, this is gonna be a little snapshot in history of who Sean is, and I'm gonna kind of go through it pretty quick, but I want you to understand my background and my upbringing and what led me to this right here, because this didn't happen overnight, and it's quite the journey, and I feel like I wanna put it on video and share it with you. So I hope you appreciate it. We'll go through it pretty quick. It might be pretty interesting to you, and it might be rather eye-opening for some of you, because a lot of you don't know my background. So let's get right into it. I was born in Upland, California, which is in Southern California. Started off on a Schwinn Stingray like most kids. And then my parents kind of moved us up north and then back down south, and I began racing around 1983, I believe, in Apple Valley, California. Then we moved down to Fullerton, California, and that's really where I consider where I grew up. I was in 5th grade when we got there, and I started riding my bike everywhere, all over Orange County. 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade. Met my best friend that was then in 7th grade, and we're still friends to this day. We would ride bikes all the way down to Newport Beach, which was like 22 miles following the Santa Ana River Trail, and just rode bikes everywhere, made jumps, made all kinds of stuff to just launch your bike off of. And it just became a part of me at that point. But about halfway through my 10th grade year, my parents bought a house out in Moreno Valley, California. So we moved out there, and I met another good friend that lived in the neighborhood. And I built him a bike in another episode. It was a Schwinn Predator Freeform Z in orange. And you might have seen that bike. I gave it to him as kind of a gift of our childhood, because this bike was the bike that I had back then. Not that exact one, but it was a blue PK Ripper. This is just a better version of it. And we would ride all over the neighborhoods and race and do jumps and things. And I even raced in Moreno Valley, California a couple times. And I broke my PK Ripper that I had back then. But then the hard decision came at 18, and I needed to find out what I'm gonna do with my life. So I sold my PK Ripper and joined the United States Air Force. I went off to training at Lackland Air Force Base, Texas, then off to Fort Dix, New Jersey, with my first duty station being in South Dakota, Ellsworth Air Force Base. And from there, I went down a couple years later to Cannon Air Force Base, New Mexico, hated it there, and found a program that allowed me to go from active duty to Air National Guard. So I went back to Moreno Valley, California, to March Air Reserve Base, where I was in the Air National Guard. The Guard is only one weekend a month, so I needed a full-time job. Got a job at the Orange County Marshal's Department, where I worked for a couple years, transferred over to a police department where I was a police officer for many, many years. And then when 2001 happened, 9/11, I watched that unfold on TV on my day off. As a police officer, watching that happen, there's really nothing I could do, and I thought, I could return to active duty. So September 25th, a couple weeks later, I resigned from the police department, and December 18th, I was active duty again, right back at Ellsworth Air Force Base in South Dakota. I got my young kids at that time into riding BMX bikes, and there was a track right outside the main gate, Box Elder BMX. Got them riding, and of course the bug got me. So I bought a 24-inch Diamond Pack, put some Skyways on it, started racing. My youngest took state, did very well. My other son really wasn't into it that much, and I was terrible. I did pretty good for my age group. I was in my young 30s at the time, but man, when you crash, it hurts way more and much longer. And eventually, I ended up moving to San Antonio, Texas. I was an instructor at the Security Forces Schoolhouse at Lackland Air Force Base. I was a weapons instructor where I taught small arms and machine guns and explosives. And that's my background. And I did that for many, many, many years. And from San Antonio, I got orders to Hawaii, where I was a weapons instructor, deployed. I've deployed multiple times throughout my career, from Desert Storm to Operation Iraqi Freedom and back again. And when I got back from that deployment in Hawaii, I got a great job opportunity at the headquarters Pacific Air Forces as the functional manager for all weapons training for the entire Pacific Theater, 11 Air Force bases. And that was kind of a pinnacle for me. I couldn't go any higher than that. So I knew I was getting closer to retirement at this point, and I had one base left in me. And I got transferred to Luke Air Force Base in Phoenix, Arizona. And that's where RADBMX Builds starts to pick up. So I'm glad you stuck with me so far through the background. Let's talk about the birth of RADBMX Builds. All right, before we jump into the birth of RADBMX Builds, I know you want to see some bikes, and let's face more bikes, right? So let's talk a little bit about the shop. This is my Radical Rick display that was at the BMX Hall of Fame in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And that was a Haro Radical Rick collaboration build that I did that was on that display. And then Damian Fulton, a really good friend of mine, the artist of Radical Rick. Basically, this is a Radical Rick display setup that I have. He did this piece of art for me right here and did it in my living room, and a huge thank you to Damien for that. And then sent me this in the mail. I apologize for all the reflection, but that's glass. So Radical Rick, Damien Fulton, sent me this, RADBMX Builds. He did a video of him drawing it. It was super cool. And also, I don't know if you know about this artwork, Battle of the Bull, Eddie Fiola, Radical Rick, that's signed by both of them. I have two of them, both signed. And then Radical Rick's book, a bunch of really cool collectible stuff. That's the collab we did. And these are a lot of the things that over the years, Damien's collaborated with Flite and companies to make a lot of this stuff. And I'm just a big collector, big fan. And you support your homies, right? So make sure that if there's someone out there you like that's making content or whatever, and they have a small business on the side selling stuff like this, support them if you can, because that's what they're doing, and they have a passion for it, and they're able to bring you really cool stuff like this. Okay, moving on. The big swatch on the wall, I love that. A lot of you like swatches. Impossible to get the big swatch watch. That was a store display, and I bought it at Mall of America when I was there. They had one in the store, and I convinced them to sell it to me. So the shop's undergoing some changes right now. I completely switched up the layout. I know that box under there is ugly. Gonna have to get some different tablecloths. Not a fan of that. So opened up the floor space a bit, put the bikes off to the right side, put the cabinet in the middle, my building tables, display tables on both sides, and I put the bikes over here kind of lined up. So you got some of that. Now what's on the tables? They look like a mess, right? This is going to be a custom 20-inch GT RADBMX collaboration bike that was just made and is off at Powder Coat. Big shout out to Amy Grips, by the way. Always a big support. Eddie Fiola signed RADBMX Builds pad. Gary Turner signed GT pad. Just got a lot of really cool memorabilia in here. A lot of old school power discs and parts. An 83 PK Ripper, like I said, I rode one in high school and I just wanted to add one to my collection. The CW Phase 1 bike, and then another pile of parts. What is this? Again, another custom GT being made for me right now, and this one's gonna be a 24-inch. So 2 bike builds coming. I think that's pretty rad. And then I have some Bob Haro art up there and a Mike Buff framed photo up there. All my wheels down here. And you're just gonna see a lot of parts everywhere. I'm sorry I don't have the lights on in the display case, but power discs, brakes, stems, all kinds of stuff. Let's just do the top row first. That's a 1989 GT Pro Series, a 1989 GT Mach 1, a 1987 GT Pro Series, and a 1987 GT Mach 1. My neon signs, if you want one of those, there's a link down below where to get one at a discounted price. My RADBMX Builds skateboard, a bunch of GT Eddie Fiola stuff. It's all signed, which is really rad. Eddie Fiola gave me this when he was out here. All these are signed. I don't know if you came to this event, but it was absolutely amazing. It was our first one, and it was quite the success, so I was very happy about that. The RAD plate signed by, I mean, everybody. Kevin Holt, Eddie Fiola, Bill Allen, Hollywood Mike Miranda, all of them signed that, which was really, really cool. Some original photos from the shoot. Hollywood Mike Miranda gave me this poster, which was super cool. Sean, I'm your biggest fan. Hollywood Mike Miranda. How cool is that? What a dude. And then my skateboard deck, ET, some old school helmets. Gotta have those in your collection. My GT Team Series. Still playing around with this bike. A few little changes I'm gonna make to it, but I don't know. And then this one is the Tommy Bracken's replica, and it's stamped RADBMX. So this was another GT RADBMX collaboration. There's Tommy Bracken's on the bike, signed by Tommy Bracken's, and the frame number is RADBMX, and there's the signature for GT, as is on the frame. So super sick. Love that bike. But man, I have another one coming, just like I said. Any guesses what that color is gonna be that's gonna sit in this spot right here? Can't wait to get that bike. Okay, some real behind the scenes. My workstation, all my tools, rags, you name it, everything you need to build a bike. And then the back of the cabinet, like any other shop, you have a bunch of stickers on the back of your display case. And you might recognize some of them. You might know some of these people. Ernie's 80s Bike Shop, huge shout out to you. Justin, the BMX Basement, huge shout out to you. I mean, it's just some great stuff in here and some great content creators, and I really appreciate them and working with them and collaborating with them. And lastly, behind all these banners, the banners are actually hiding stuff. You can kind of see it in there, are a bunch of BMX parts and skateboard decks. I have a ton of skateboard decks, but nowhere to put them. Okay, over on this wall, I got a bunch of windows that I keep blocked out, but you can buy these right now at Flite. There's a link down below. RADBMX Builds pads, only available in the splatter design right now. And if you go get a pair, please send me a photo so I can post it on the Instagram. But Flite has RADBMX Builds pads. There's some Hot Wheel BMX. And then you come over, you're getting really behind the scenes now. This is my little workstation where I do all my editing. So right here on the laptop, I do the editing. This was a cutout made by raddesigns1986.com. This was Hollywood Mike Miranda, Kevin Hull, me, and Eddie Fiola right here in the shop. Framed by Museum Quality, and you gotta give them a follow. My Cook Brothers banner. Albert Einstein, thinking about BMX. And my refrigerator, plastered in stickers. Got some special drinks in there for later. And that's kind of it. So you get the whole view of the shop here at RADBMX Builds. All right, let's talk about 2025. I'm gonna be here for 2025, and the reason I say that is because there's been times where I thought about shutting this down, selling all of this off. Why? It's a grind, it's a lot of work, it's a passion, but it is time consuming, and I'm supposed to be retired, remember that? So, Where do I want to focus my energy? Right here on YouTube. So if you haven't subscribed yet, I'm asking you right now, for whatever reason you had, just hit that button. I need you to in order to keep this going. It costs you absolutely nothing. I'm not asking you to buy anything or do anything other than just click the button. You don't have to watch every video. I'm cool with that. Just hit the subscribe, help this channel grow so I can keep doing YouTube and I can keep building these bikes. What collaborations do we have going in 2025? I'll tell you right now, RADBMX and GT collaborating on the next 2 builds. Those bikes are coming very soon. I'm also going to New England and I'm going to see Justin, the BMX basement, and film a video there very soon. I leave next week and I'll be gone for about 10 days up in New Hampshire and Maine. What else am I doing up there? I'm going to my brother-in-law's wedding, but I'm also looking at property. We might be looking at a second place to bounce back and forth. So somewhere in New England and Texas, and we can go back and forth whenever we choose. I think that would be a great thing for us and a great thing for RADBMX Builds, because then I get some East Coast content, some coastal content, and there's a lot of great people up there, and Justin being one of them. So what else do we got going on? Don't forget my friends at Amy Grips, always there for me, and a huge shout out to you. And then Erin over at Flite for the number plates, the donuts, the pads. They sell merch. I just saw her post Skyway wheels on the website. I've seen bikes on that website. You need to go to the link down below and go check out Flite. Get yourself some RAD BMX pads, some checkered pads, some GT pads, whatever pads you need for your radical bike, go do it. You need it. If it's a race bike, it needs pads and a number plate. Even if you don't need them, there's some really cool ones you can just have. I literally have a box full of pads. I have another box full of number plates. Why? Because I think they're cool. And all those right there are donuts. Don't even have bikes for those yet. They've been used on bikes, photographed here and there, but I think they're just cool to have in the background. Okay, one last look at the shop here at RADBMX Builds. I really appreciate you guys. If you listened to me rant this entire time and just talk about nonsense, I truly appreciate you. Thanks to all of you. I know this was a very different video, but I hope you liked it, and we'll see you in the next one. And as always, stay rad.